Welcome, everyone, to the fourth episode already of the Homey podcast. I'm Abe, Partnerships Manager here at Homey, joined today by Emil.
Hello.
Our co-founder. And we have a special guest today, not from us, not from Homey, but I think a well-known name within the Homey community, and that's Martijn Poppen.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. Maybe give a quick introduction, who you are, what you do.
I'm Martijn, and I'm what you already said, a community developer with for the Homey community. And I developed like 25 apps for Homey, so that's what I do as a hobby. And then in my daily life, I'm a tech lead at KPN BV.
Okay, that's for the people that don't know, that's one of the larger
Telecom,
ISPs.
telecom providers in the Netherlands. Yes.
How long have you been a community developer?
I think for now 3.5 years, something like that.
Nice, good time.
So your first Homey was the 2019, then I think.
2019, indeed. Yeah.
Started with the 20. Are you currently on the new one?
I'm on the new one.
Oh, you are on the new one, right?
I'm on 23. Yeah.
The 23 now. Awesome.
And you did receive the Homey Developer Award.
I did.
Right?
Yeah. And I have a homemade developer award as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, you made it yourself.
yeah.
What are some of the apps people could know you for?
I think UV Security, Flow Checker, all the Volkswagen and Audi apps, WhatsApp, Apple Find My, a lot.
So it's basically if you have a device at home that isn't yet smart or doesn't work with Homey, you just think, I'll just make an app.
Yeah,
that's
basically
how it works.
that's basically what I do. Yeah.
Well, cool. So we'll dive into Martijn's story a bit later and to see how he likes developing for the Homey platform.
If he does.
If he does, hopefully. First, I want to dive into a bit of news, see what happened last month within the smart home world. It was quite calm. Not that much news.
Everyone is saving it for CES,
yeah.
right? CES
Q4
Consumer Electronics Show starting in January.
Yeah, so you see that a lot of companies, us including, I think, are mostly focused now on all the sales during the heavy Black Friday, Christmas, holiday season. Did see that Kwikset announced a new lock in the US that's now Matter supported, but it's basically everything. But I think big news from last week is that we saw the CSA launch Matter 1.4, or at least the specification.
Yeah, a lot of energy stuff in there.
A lot of
energy
energy
stuff.
Happy
as well.
Yeah, what makes me happy as well. So how it works, the CSA, or the Connectivity Standards Alliance, is the consortium behind connectivity standards like Zigbee, Matter, Thread.
Yes, I think those are it.
Yeah, those
Maybe
are
have
it.
a few unpopular, I don't know. But
They also do some other standardization things. I know with smart locks and smart entry and.
Oh right, yeah.
So the CSA consists of large companies working within the smart home world.
And us.
We're
a large company.
Yeah, and we work together on making smart home better for everyone, essentially. And they launched the new update to Matter, which also adds. So first, it adds new device classes.
Heat pumps and what more?
Heat pumps, solar inverters.
Nice. Especially solar inverters is nice because they tend to be cloud connected.
Yeah.
And don't have a local API usually.
Yeah. So it's really hard. So we have been working with a lot of those companies, and what we see is with their APIs, and this is just what I heard from one of the guys working at one of the companies, is that they basically say, hey, the APIs are mostly used for, let's say, larger installers that want to see, hey, what is my solar field bringing in? Like, what is the power doing? What is the temperature of the inverters? It isn't really meant to control devices. It's mostly to read devices. Martijn, do you have solar panels at home?
I do. 3.
1. And are they integrated with Homey?
Yeah, it's the Solex app. So it's
Solex.
Yeah. Those are working. Yeah.
Yeah. And for you,
I have Solar Edge.
Solar
Edge.
Edge.
So I use Diederik's solar panels app.
Yeah. So you see, some have APIs. They mostly used it to read the status of the solar panels. I hope that maybe that now that we see Matter also supporting these device classes, that the companies will also join the CSA. I don't know actually if they are already part of the CSA.
Some might be, I don't know.
Some might be.
It would definitely be nice if they add Matter support to their inverters. because now you usually have to either reverse engineer their protocols, which I think a lot of the Homey integrations have done, or you need to have sort of a contract with them, and then you hit API rating limits and stuff. But you just want the real-time raw data, right? That's
what I heard as well,
game.
and that it's more the technical part, so that may be more of a thing for you guys, is that APIs usually run in the memory or just in the storage, like on local storage, and can only be read or written to or read once a day to save the degradation of the storage.
Oh yeah, that
and
makes
then
sense.
Other protocols to actually control the device are ran in memory.
Well, for solar panels, there's not that much to control. Would be nice if you can turn them on and off, but not every inverter can actually do that on a sort of hardware level. But then you can turn them off if there's sort of an overshoot of solar energy within your country.
Yeah. So that's one reason that I heard. And then what we also see with a lot of these devices, and it isn't only solar panel inverters, but also heat pumps and car chargers and essentially everything that has to do with larger electronics, is that it uses Modbus. I don't know if you heard of it.
It's a pretty standardized, but a little bit of an old protocol.
Yeah.
It's not really it's sort of a protocol. It's a bit like Wi-Fi. It's more of a communication protocol, but sort of the bytes that you send over the line are still up to the manufacturer to define. And
it isn't fully open, and it isn't fully standard, so hard to integrate as well. And there is Modbus over the internet, so over TCP, I think, but that isn't always the case. So hopefully this Matter update will bring support for more of those devices.
I think this market is one of those markets that really need Matter support.
Yeah.
I mean, for smart locks and lights, we had already a lot of standards that were very well thought out and worked. It's still nice, but these are the companies that only have a cloud API, and now they finally, hopefully, also go local. So this is a very welcome addition to the Matter spec.
Yeah. And then the next big thing, or two big things that are really interesting for end users, are improvements when combining multiple Matter or thread networks. Martijn, do you really actively use Matter on Homey?
I do not.
I do not.
I just received my Homey Pro 23 2 weeks ago, so I do not use Matter yet.
But do you have any Matter compatible devices?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No.
So
I hope I get them soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Since I also only have one in my home. I mean, at the office we test a lot of stuff, but I only have a smart lock.
I do have maybe one or two devices that use Matter.
They're slowly getting to the market.
Yeah, slowly getting there. But what you'll see is that you have multiple Matter controllers. So Homey Pro, of course, could be one of them. But it could also be that you also have Google Home and Home, or Apple HomeKit, or Amazon Alexa. And what you can already do is, of course, I think we said it earlier in an earlier episode of the podcast, is do Matter multi-admin, where you can share a device between Matter networks.
But you have to do that per device still, right?
It's every time if you want to add it to another, scan another code, and then so it takes a bit of effort. With Matter 1.4, they announced Fabric Sync. So a Matter network is called a Matter Fabric, very fancy. And this way you can just turn on a feature, I guess, and then sync all your Matter networks.
Yeah, so all your, let's say, devices that you have connected to your HomePod by Apple should automatically appear in Homey. So this doesn't work yet. I mean, it's just announced, and people have to actually, or the manufacturers have to integrate this. But that's a theory. I am a bit skeptical, because for thread, this is also something, sort of sharing thread networks between devices, that's still not really working well.
So
their marketing is about 3 years ahead of the implementation. But I mean, if everyone gets it working, and we'll obviously be working towards that as well. Then,
no, so that's the last thing that they announced or one of the last things is sharing thread border routers within a network, so that multiple thread border routers can work together to create one big network.
It has to be standardized. But last time I heard from our mobile team, they had a lot of issues with Android and iOS SDKs that they just crash your phone, for example, if you try to share and that kind of stuff. So it doesn't seem to be a priority with big tech to actually share their stuff. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
But hopefully, one day it will just work. So then you have just like you have one Wi-Fi network at home, you have one thread network, and that's sort of best for bandwidth and speed.
I think also like one thing I'm not sure if it was for Matter Fabric or the thread border router sharing is that it isn't backwards compatible. And I think that is
thread networks. I
think so.
Because you have to sort of reset your thread network.
And I guess how are you going to communicate that with the end user? Of course, we are all a bit techie and we might know the details. But if I would explain to my mom, where previously I would say, hey, everything that has a Matter sticker should work together. It's now a bit like with the USB standard, you know?
God, yes.
You have a USB
connectors and
plug.
protocols and a Thunderbolt and DisplayPort and whatnot.
So you have USB-C, but what version is it? So I hope that we don't run in those issues with Matter as well. Martijn, you haven't used Matter before. I don't know if you know a bit about how it works, but what is your impression about Matter? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so to me it looks good, and I actually never looked into it. I was like, okay, I can only run Zigbee or Z-Wave, and Matter is something I will not own. So now I do own a Homey Pro 23, so I'm like, okay, maybe I can buy some Matter products, but still it's like, for me it's, how do you say that?
It's still a bit unclear.
Yeah, exactly. It feels a bit like Zigbee. It feels a bit the same still to me. Yeah.
It isn't that. Yeah, no. And I think, that's what a lot of end users have as well. It's like, okay, well, how exactly does it work? And does it work? And
to me, it only feels like it's still lightning, smart locks, sensors, but no cameras or robot vacuums or those kind of things. So I think it's more interesting when those products are also coming to Matter.
Yeah, I think also a bit of a chicken and egg problem there is that new device types are added to the Matter spec. So you can theoretically add support for them. But then it's the device manufacturers waiting for platform manufacturers to integrate it, and it's the other way around as well. So we are looking at device manufacturers looking at, okay, when are they going to implement this functionality? But they probably won't do it if we don't do it, and vice versa. So it's still a bit of a chicken and egg problem there.
I think a lot of the Matter products that are currently on the market support sort of a few basic Matter commands. And then for the sort of the more exotic features, or let's say a vacuum cleaner, then you still have to download the manufacturer's own app, and then they talk to using a different channel, so not Matter, but let's say just Wi-Fi, directly to the vacuum cleaner to issue those commands. That's sort of the state of the art of Matter. So
the reason why we have Matter, or why Matter is a thing, leads us perfectly into the next thing. Since last week, we saw a couple of problems with some APIs. I think first we saw Panasonic. It was shared on some tech websites as well, as some people reversed engineered their API for their air conditioning units, and it still worked, but Panasonic pulled support. So that meant people who connected their devices with either Homey or Home Assistant just couldn't use their air conditioning anymore.
Yep. Which is a bit sad.
It's a bit sad, and I think it's really sad that Panasonic decided to do this, of course, since I think it's always better to work together and create a better smart home together instead of doing it separately. I also get that they don't want reverse engineered stuff. Which I was looking at you. You also have built a few apps that are based on reverse engineered apps.
I think most of my apps are reverse engineered, actually. Yeah.
Are you also like afraid that manufacturer will just pull API support, or?
Some, yeah. In the beginning, I was more afraid of that, and right now I'm like, of course it can happen all the time. But if you search on GitHub, how many APIs you find which are reverse engineered, it's a lot. But the most terrible thing which happens is like the manufacturers are updating their API, and you have to reverse engineer them again and again and again, and that's not really the fun part.
Yeah, since there isn't any document, like it isn't that when they update it, they say, okay, we updated our backdoor, and this is
nobody tells you. No, you have to find out yourself, and some manufacturers are updating every week, so it's kind of hard sometimes.
Yeah. So
what I think is pretty funny that when we were a much smaller company, we could be a bit more cowboy-like, right?
Yeah.
We also reverse engineered a lot of APIs, because also back then there just weren't as many APIs as there are now today. But when we did that, then usually we got an angry call from like an IT administrator, like, what are you doing to my cloud servers? And we were like, well, you can give us official access. And that was usually our way in to get in contact with these companies. Because if you just go to their sales channels or whatever, you would sort of end up nowhere. But then you were talking directly to the right person. So that was actually a great tactic to get into a lot of official partnerships with them.
Yeah, it's like poking the hornet's nest and then hoping that it falls the right way afterwards. So we saw that with Panasonic, but unfortunately we saw it also with Tuya on the Homey platform. Signed a partnership with them 4 months ago, decided to work together. But unfortunately they have now decided to, they said due to business security risks, at least revoke our API for now.
It's pretty weird.
I
have not many good words to say about this.
No, I think it's a shame that when you decide to work together, decide to make the best of it, the best for our users, then they suddenly, without any prior notice.
I think we're still figuring out how to deal with this with them. I mean, we could do some legal stuff, but rather not. We can, of course, now we have LG behind them. LG is a customer of Tuya, so they have a lot of leverage. So let's see if that works out. But it's a bit weird.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. Yeah, so if any people from Tuya are listening, we would very much like to resolve this issue.
Yes, these are your customers who are now angry at you.
So for people that the problem is with the authentication. So people that have installed the app already and were using it before. It still works. But for people that want to add it now, it's unfortunately not possible anymore. So new authentication is broken. I think steps that we have already taken is at least we put a warning in the description, and we've hidden the app for now, so that
we don't want to do any like false advertising.
Exactly. So,
but still, I wouldn't recommend buying that stuff anyway.
No. So and this is another confirmation that you need to be really careful with buying these products and having this information.
But to be honest, it's pretty hard to see if it's Tuya. If you go to just a regular retail chain here, then you can buy a light bulb and it might be Tuya. You just don't really know.
Most of the time it is actually.
If it's cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If it's cheap, it's mostly Tuya. The other thing, maybe a silver lining here is that we also had the Tuya Zigbee app, developed by another great community developer, Johan Benz. We're actually working with him to make that one official. So at least make it official in the way that we also publish it for Homey Cloud users.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So people who have the Homey Bridge, they can also use it. So
so if you buy Tuya stuff, make sure it's Zigbee. Then they have no remote control over your devices.
They do also make Matter stuff now.
That should, in theory, it can also push an update that locks you out,
true.
But in theory, that should keep working.
Yeah, so be careful when you buy Tuya products. Make sure it's either Zigbee or Matter, or of course check the Best Buy guides for any other devices that should work very well with.
I asked Dino when this happened. The guy who was in the last podcast. And that's the Best Buy guys. Like, hey, do we have any Tuya products here? Because we should probably not mention them. And he was like, no, I don't include them anyway because of this kind of shit.
Yeah, no, it's really unfortunate. So let's just hope for the best and hope that it changes in the future. But we'll see. We'll make sure to keep you all up to date. Then I think for the next section, let's dive into you, Martijn. Let's learn a bit more about your Homey story and how you ended up where you are. I think first, before you were using Homey, were you using Smart Home at all, or?
I was using the Home Wizard Hub.
Oh yeah,
and I had some small one, the small click on, click out devices connected to it, so some sensors and some lights, and that was actually it. And then I bought a Homey. And I was like, oh, this is nice, and still tried to use it in the same way I did with Home Wizard, but then I found out Homey was way more powerful, so I connected a bit more devices, went to IKEA, bought some lights, then I bought a UV camera, and I was like, oh, this is not connectable. Maybe I should try myself. So that's when I started building the UV app. So that was in 2020, I think. And then, that was my first app. I started with it, and from there, my hobby for apps was born. And also, I bought a lot of new devices, and I think my Homey is quite full at the moment with
so
devices.
That's also so it came out of like a personal necessity. Hey, you have some devices that don't work. You have the know-how to build an app. let's just build an app and then.
Actually, at that point, I didn't because
really?
My first app was really terrible, and I think I made some choices in the UV app back then, which I still trying to fix sometimes.
Yeah.
So the first app that didn't have devices, you could only connect to UV, and that was it. So it was a first draft, but in the end, it was one. It's now one of my biggest apps, which is really nice. But yeah, then I really learned like, hey, how does this Homey SDK work, and how do I need to work with it, and a bit Node.js development, which was really nice, which I already did before, but not like this. So then I actually started with it.
So how painful was it to learn the Homey SDK?
It was pretty easy in the end. I think I can say it afterwards. But when I started, it was like, I was more focused on the device itself instead of the SDK. And later I found out like, oh, you can do actually pretty much with a lot with the SDK. So yeah, right now I do have some boilerplates for myself. When I want to build a new app, it's like within 3 hours I have a new app and it's there.
You just know what to do.
Exactly, yeah. So and also when I miss something, I will just ping you guys like, hey, I'm missing this, or this is not working as expected. And so.
So there was one of the questions that popped up on the forum. I said, hey, we have Martijn over. If you have any questions, please let us know. Saw some great questions pop up. So one of them was, how has your approach to app development of Homey changed over the years, especially with the new Homey platform updates?
Yeah, so what I say, when I started with UV, it was like really terrible. Didn't use Homey Compose. I'm not sure if it was out at that point in 2020.
I think it might have been optional. I think at some point we just made it part of the standard development kit. Homey Compose, it's a bit technical, but just it made it easier to split your files.
Yeah.
So if you have one device type, you have just one folder with everything contained for that device in there, and not sort of spread across different files.
Yeah, so I was maintaining a really big JSON file with all the devices, and actually when I started on my fifth app, I was like, oh, maybe I should use Homey Compose, and I was just tinkering a bit with it, and then the setup of my app was already way better. And then of course the move to SDK 3 came, so some apps were not supported on SDK 2 anymore, so I also took over some other apps, and then I started working on SDK 3 and was like, it's still quite easy to do. But I think in the beginning it was quite hard to build the apps and to make sure you have a nice structure, and at some point you're quite familiar with the SDK and you can just do whatever you want. So I think it's really changed. For me right now, there's not really a lot of change in the platform. I have one app which is a Z-Wave app, and I don't have any experience with that, so that was quite hard to maintain that one. But all the other apps, it's just an API in a Node.js wrapper, and in the end, it's just the SDK is like translating your code to a GUI, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So
we call it sort of glue.
Yeah,
it feels like that.
Yeah, because you're talking two languages. You're talking the Homey language and whatever product you're integrating, and you make this mapping like, oh, they call it turned on and we call it on off. Well, that still is yes, no value, easy. Done.
Exactly, yeah.
Glue is actually a really good one. I always compare it to the drivers you have in your computer. You know, when you get a new printer, you first need to install their driver before it...
That is why we call it driver.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I will always compare it to.
But if you say that to sort of a non-technical person, they see someone sitting behind a car wheel. So
no, that's also true. Is there any particular feature of Homey that you like working with the most? It could be development, could also just be in the app, or
it's hard actually, because for me, what you already said, when I see something which is not connectable to Homey, I will just build an app and connect it. So I really enjoy building the apps. It's like, oh, I have a new idea, I want to build that, and I'm just working my way through. And at some point, then of course you have to support the app, and there are new features coming out. So that I really like doing that. And I think for me, it's like it's quite normal already to build an app. It's like, oh, I will just build an app, it's fine. But I really like to dive into the SDK sometimes to find things which I didn't know existed. So that's really nice.
What was the last thing you discovered that the SDK could do?
I think I was mainly looking into images. I discovered the SDK couldn't do something. So I was actually like, hey, this is something new which I didn't know. But I'm also looking into the web API a lot of times. So for Flow Checker, of course, I try to get all the things from the web API. So that's like, oh, this is possible. That's nice. So you just try as much as possible. And of course, I already said to you, Emil, I'm also trying to hack the SDK every now and then. So
very good
to try something new. So yeah, it's really nice. I really like working for Homey working for the Homey platform. So, but yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
Awesome. And then, of course, you say you built one app, then goes to 2, 5, 10, and then suddenly you have more than 20 apps.
Yeah, that escalated a bit. Yeah.
How
understatement.
How do you manage to keep supporting all those apps? Keep on maybe adding new devices to the apps, building new apps as well.
Yeah, so that's a good question, because I was also thinking like, hey, how do I do that? So I really want to support everybody when I get a question on the forum or a question somewhere else. I'm just like replying within an hour, and it's like, oh, I'll get it fixed for you. So that's what I do. So at least I don't have a big to-do list with all kind of things which are broken in my apps. But sometimes there are, and I get a lot of requests. It's most of the time on a rainy Sunday, and then you get a lot of requests from people like, hey, this is not working. So I really try to update everything, and adding new devices it was a really big priority for me. But right now it's also like, when I don't have, when it's, for example, a reverse engineered app, I will just wait a bit when I see it somewhere else popping up, and then I will add it to the Homey app as well, because I'm not going to reverse engineer everything myself, because that's too much. Yeah. And also some apps I don't have much priority in fixing it or adding features, because it's like, low installs, not a lot of users. So I will just focus on my bigger apps.
Yeah, so really looking at where you put your time in.
Yeah,
and,
in the end, it's still a hobby, of course.
Yeah, of
so
course,
it's doing
sure. Yeah.
I'm curious. There's a lot of interaction between you and your app users, or the Homey community. What are some things, like how do you experience interacting with them? Has it changed over time? Sort of, are they being nice or a bit rude, or you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it's most of them are really nice and asking questions, and they have a issue with a app, for example, and it's like, hey, it's not working. So I wrote a lot of FAQs for everybody, so I can just send people like, hey, go to my FAQ and your answer is there. So I made it a bit easier for myself. But also I get some feature requests, and in the past it was like every feature request I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I will build that. And I also implemented some features which are like, maybe one person is using that, so maybe I should remove it again. But yeah, overall, I think most people are really nice. And what I already said is like, they can find you everywhere. So I try to guide all my app users to a forum topic, for example, where they will find you on Facebook and on your email and on
front of
Discord.
your house.
Everywhere. They will find you everywhere. So I really try to manage that a bit, so it makes it easier for myself. And I also try to bundle a lot of requests together, so I can talk to multiple people at once, like, hey, I fixed it for you, or I implemented this.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes it a bit easier, because, of course, what you said, with 20 apps, it's quite hard to make everybody happy.
Yeah. Big respect.
Thanks.
For what you're doing there. I think, if people are now listening and looking at, hey, okay, I want to start building my first Homey app. Maybe I'm a bit techie, but not that knowledgeable on coding. But hey, say I want to build my first Homey app in the future. What are what are tips you want to say, hey, look out for this one? And what are like common pitfalls that you'd say, hey, look out for?
Yeah, so for me, it's like when I started building a Homey app, I first look at what kind of device do I have, what kind of API do I have, and I will first try to tinker a bit with that in a Node.js application. So I'm not thinking about Homey anyway. I'm just trying to make the connection between the device and or the manufacturer. And then when I'm like, this works, then I will start putting it into a Homey app. So I think it's mainly two things. You need to know how the manufacturer works, how the API works, and the other thing is like, how does the Homey app work? So when you don't know how to build a Homey app, it's first like, look into that. What are the basic functionalities, capabilities, drivers, devices? How does it work? So I think there's a nice start, how to start building a Homey app in the docs. And then the other part is like, you should know how to make the connection between your device and
I do exactly the same. Just first make a proof of concept, just test.js on your desktop folder, and that talks to the API and does everything that you sort of is uncertain if it will work. And then when you have that working, you start sort of fitting these puzzle pieces into the Homey app where they belong.
Yeah. So with the first apps I made, I did it the other way around. So I first started with the Homey app, make everything nice, include flow cards, everything was pretty, and then it was like, I don't have a connection to the device yet. And then I was started with the pairing mode and everything, which makes it quite hard actually. So it's better to start the other way around, and especially also later on when you're supporting the app, you can always start up your Tinker project again and like, okay, something is broken. What happened? And then you can actually look into that one and still see if that still works.
I think that is also like one of the, I would reckon is one of the pitfalls is working on the Homey app first and then seeing like the App Store page or the app on within the Homey app where your Homey install is really satisfying, of course.
It's the most sort of fun part because it comes together, but you also sort of have to keep it in front of you, right? So I have to finish this first and then I can make it look nice. And
exactly.
Yeah, maybe one of the hardest parts then I think when you start moving your proof of concept into the Homey app is that within Homey you have of course the driver, so you can add multiple devices for the same app. But then you have to support also multiple clients. So I had some issues with the WhatsApp app, for example, that you can add multiple numbers to Homey, and then you have to support multiple WhatsApp instances at the same time, which was quite a challenge.
So with the WhatsApp, is it basically running the WhatsApp app somewhere? Or?
It's running a WhatsApp web integration, but it's using the WebSockets variant. So you have a WhatsApp web via a browser window which emulates a browser, and this is actually using the WebSockets variant. So it's not that heavy on memory.
Okay,
because the other one I tried and did crash my Homey.
Cool to
that's
hear.
really nice. Also, the structure you're talking about, that's really the hard part. So
yeah,
it's sort of this hierarchy of you have one Homey with multiple in the WhatsApp case numbers, with multiple chat sessions, and everything has to work correctly. You don't want that stuff mixed up, basically.
No, exactly. That was really hard to manage sometimes. And also, like for example, with UV security, you can only have one login. So you can have multiple devices, but you can only log in once. And you see also for some other apps, for I think Tado, for example, every device can be on a different account. And that makes it quite hard. But some apps do it like that, and the other apps do it like this.
We do have for the sort of typical OAuth 2 apps, which is the standard, do you want to give Homey permission to sort of screens. We do have a module that supports both. So you can say I want one or multiple accounts. But you always have to keep that in mind, sort of while developing, that you don't mix that stuff up.
The OAuth is really nice, by the way. I tried that for one app and it's really nice.
That's good to hear. Yeah, we put a lot of work in it because I think like in the App Store, like somewhere between 50 and 100 apps are using OAuth 2. So we should get that right.
I hope that more manufacturers will implement it in the API.
I think in terms of that, so you're mostly working on your own projects. Are there also brands that you've maybe built an app for that you've gotten in contact with, or looking at supporting official apps?
Yeah, so I do support 2 official apps. One is the PowerView app from Hunter Douglas and Luxaflex. And the other one is the Ember app, which is like a private cloud NAS system. So those are 2 official apps I built. And then, I also are in contact with you, of course. So UV Security is supporting a bit at the moment. So they're providing devices so I can test them out. But all the other apps are just still my own hobby, and trying. Hopefully, one day we get a manufacturer and they are like, "Hey, we want to work together." But I don't know yet.
Yeah, no, that's also what you're saying. Of course, we are both in contact with Eufy there. And I see that happen with some other brands as well, is where of course we are in contact with our community, and sometimes brands reach out to us saying, hey, we see that there's already a community built integration, would you be able to get us in contact with the developer? And we've seen that like turn into very powerful and healthy relationships and partnerships.
I think it's really nice. Then you can officially support it, the apps. And also that you get like a proper API, so not reverse engineered things which you're doing as your hobby. So I think that's really nice to have like proper APIs to work with.
Yeah, what I also really like seeing is that when that happens and then the official app launches, is that like seeing how proud the developer is at like having the official offering and working with the brand that they like.
It's so cool.
It's really cool to see. I think one of the most things that I get the most satisfaction out of with my job. Is seeing those partnerships be built and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And every time when I think like, hey, I need a partnership with a brand, I will just ping Abe like,
Yeah.
hey, can you talk to this company
Yep.
and see what is possible?
See that happen a lot as well, and everyone feel free to do so. If you really love a brand and would love to build an app and you're good at it, always feel free to send me a ping, and I would love to see how we can make that happen.
I think a lot of companies are pretty willing to sponsor a few devices for a good integration,
Certainly.
at least. Sort of that's where it starts
Yeah.
if you try to make it commercial.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty nice deal, right? You get all the new stuff, sometimes
Exactly.
even stuff before it's released.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, that works great.
So Abe and I discussed already that we need to do that with some car brands.
Yeah.
So we can, they can send us some devices.
I'm also still waiting on the Porsche integration.
Oh yeah. I can build it maybe.
No, awesome. And then I think one and the last question for you, Martijn, is we got the question on the forum that said, what is the SDK feature or API that you miss the most as a developer? So if you were to add one piece of functionality, what would it be?
We already discussed this a bit before, and I was like, I want to exclude my devices in Google Home, Emil.
Well, that's nice that you say that, because it's actually a project that we started last week.
Yep.
Nice.
So pretty soon, TM, there will be an update to the mobile app, and then for Google Home and Alexa, you can exclude devices. So by default, everything is included, but you can just check them like, I don't want these in there. And for Google Home, you can also select some devices you want to set a PIN code for.
Yeah.
Nice.
So for especially your smart locks, that's, I think, pretty nice. So that's currently being worked on. I don't have an ETA yet.
Yeah,
But it's coming.
Oh, it's really cool. And I think also it's cool that we're planning to like the PIN code functionality. So that would be, if you ask your Google Home to open the door, it will say, okay, but you first need to give the PIN code. Yeah. You will also be able to do that for other devices.
And
or at least that we want to
you
do.
as an app developer don't even have to do anything for it, because
No.
it's sort of one layer above basically the devices.
That's nice.
Yeah. So all the devices you have are currently can work that. But there's nothing really missing in the SDK itself. Yeah, because you're talking to the right guy.
Yeah, it's maybe like I think it's more a feature. So what I really see right now, you introduced all new device classes and new capabilities, and I'm like, I having all these flow cards in all my existing apps, and I actually have to rewrite that without people having to rebuild their flows again. So I would really love some kind of like transfer feature when I can say, okay, this flow card is called this from now on, and it's the same flow card, and users are having the same card.
Oh man, migration is so hard.
I know, man. I know. So that's what I have like all the time when I have something new in an app. I have like, okay, I have to also make sure it's also backwards compatible. Of course, you have this also with the Homey software, of course, but it's still something I'm doing all the time, and I don't want to migrate everything, because then I have to ask users like, hey, you have to do this again.
That's not great. Yeah.
And one other thing I really miss is like a proper way of informing the users with something like, hey, this has changed in the app. I think a timeline message is nice, of course, but especially with the change of the home screen right now, you can remove your timeline. So not all people are looking at the timeline.
That's true.
So that will be really nice that you can actually check like, hey, something has changed, like a pop-up or something that you can inform the user with.
Yeah, I saw once it was both a suggestion and a question. Is that someone said, hey, maybe if someone updates like one of their apps, you of course see it on your timeline, but then you maybe can press it or something, and it will show the changelog or something.
I would like that.
Yeah.
Also, if you go to the app screen, I think sort of see a history of changelogs. Also for our own updates, by the way, so that you can't really press a timeline item right now, but that would be very nice.
That would be really nice.
Yeah, because contacting users is of course a bit sort of it can get spammy real quick, right?
Yeah.
So that it's more of a political challenge than a technical one. But at least showing a changelog is, I think, the least we could do.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Maybe one other thing was what I was just thinking about it the other day is like, of course, you have the App Store pages where you can add descriptions and maybe some technical info like, hey, you have to make an account first over here and then you can use this app. It would be really nice to also have that inside the Homey app and the Homey web app. So you can maybe put your app description, a small FAQ with app questions in there. I think that would be really nice.
Well, that's actually a pretty good idea.
I like an FAQ on the.
It's super easy to implement, so I like that.
Yeah. So right now I'm guiding all my users to a specific post in a forum topic, like, hey, read the FAQ over here. But it would be really nice if you can just put that into the Homey app and say like, hey, go there.
So you could do it in the sort of more apps and then where the app lives. But if you add a device and you use the search, so you go to devices, a new device, and then use a search, then I'm a little bit hesitant to also put it there because we want to sort of not have a user experience where you have to go through 5 disclaimers before you can actually start connecting your devices.
I do on some of my apps, by the way, but
yeah, we know people do it. But so of course in the pair screen, that's sort of you can already do it. Yeah, maybe we should just do it in the app overview.
Yeah,
would be nice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm taking that back to the team. Thanks.
Right. Great suggestion. Thanks, Martijn. Well, then it's time to move on to the more, I think, generic questions that we got in general. Again, some in regards to dashboards, since that's of course the next big thing.
Nice. Maybe we can also show some new of the new widgets
that we've released. Would you like to start with that? I think, man. Then after
I don't know the question, so let's just start with it.
One of the questions was, and I saw it pop up multiple times, and I had this. I guess I had the same question to myself as well. Is maybe dynamic items on your dashboard. So either that you can show or not show something based on the time of day or based on an automation, or, for example, show...
in theory, an app developer could make this using the web API.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
In theory.
so one
people
example.
Who make flow checkers or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Those kind of people. Yeah.
No, so one example came up is like, hey, when someone presses the doorbell and you have like a snapshot of an image, only show that image like for half a minute and then it goes away on your dashboard, for example.
Yeah, I sort of get in that what they want.
Yeah.
It's pretty complex, I would say. So what are the rules? You
know
what I mean?
That's, yeah.
The nice, it would be nice if you could do it from a flow.
Yeah.
But then you sort of have to select the dashboard and select a widget and hide or show it. But how does it actually look on the dashboard? Can you
where does
show
it
it again from the it's there's I think a lot like edge cases that we have to consider.
Yeah, and the other thing I think here as well is, for example, media players. When a media device isn't playing, it isn't that which like showing an empty widget isn't. Right. It's just taking space, and then maybe only show it when it's playing, for example. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Those kind of.
It's not how we design dashboards. Got to be honest here.
Yeah.
It's sort of more static where the widgets are, and also helps you get sort of a muscle memory like that stuff is. But I do see the appeal. Yeah. I know on iOS you have these smart stacks, for example. They loop through widgets.
That's something that I also
based on
found.
AI or whatever.
Yeah. No, that's also found interesting that you could maybe stack multiple media player widgets and just can browse through it, for example.
Like the iPhone iOS widgets on your home screen. Yeah.
These are good suggestions. But a bit tricky to execute, I would say.
That's also what I get.
Gotta be honest.
Yeah. Do you want to show what's new?
Yeah, I do have. I just took my own iPad off the wall.
Yeah.
So let's see. Here's my my dashboard again. I don't exactly remember what we showed last time when we announced dashboards, but I think we made some progress here. So
I think
at least there are now app widgets.
Yeah,
I think I only showed the Plex one, so that's this one. I hope we can put this in sort of over this video. And now we have many more app widgets. I just have a few here. Let's go from the top left. This is not an app widget. This is the weather widget. Also coming with forecast.
Awesome.
So this one only shows the current weather, but the forecast will be coming as well. Under there is a lights widget, so you can select one or more lights that sort of group together, and then you can change the status at once. It's really nice. Below that is a thermostat. Let me just up the temperature here a bit. So you can see now that it goes, it's heating. I hope my girlfriend doesn't get too hot. She's always on the blanket, so don't worry. So that's really nice. You can select a thermostat to put on your dashboard. And then below that, there's an app widget. This one shows the rain. It's a very Dutch thing, but I'm pretty sure that our community developers from other countries will make something for their country.
Yeah.
Insights below that, we had that. There's a clock here, so there are multiple clocks you can add using also app widgets. These are my favorites in the top right. The top right one is the rituals one, which is really a perfume diffuser. And if you turn it on, let's turn it on. You see this nice animation, and below that is my sauna, which sort of glows the heater, and you see some steam. So I think that looks pretty nice.
That
really makes me
rituals
happy.
widget is like the last push I got to actually buy it. So I was thinking about getting
Nice.
the genie, I think it's called, and then I saw the widget. Like, okay, now I need to get one.
Nice. Yeah, it really makes a device stand out because,
Yeah,
of course,
exactly.
within the Homey sort of interface, everything is
Yeah.
standardized. And we try to respect the brand so they get their own icons and sometimes, other things. But this is really, the widgets are sort of a playground where you can go full on, show your brand. And it, in the grand scheme of things, it still looks nice, I would say.
Yeah, it's a bit of like a personal touch to the brands, but it still looks neat and tidy in the whole picture. Yeah,
That's really nice. And then here's the Plex one with the recently added media. And then below that, there is the trash calendar app.
Yep.
I sort of asked the developer,
Yeah.
could you please do it? And he did it like within 2 days or something. Like, props, dude.
Yeah.
That was great. So you can see when I have to put my my trash at the road. And below that is it's really nerdy. It's my Raspberry Pi showing some stats, like the CPU usage and that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Which is the web frame widget.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really nice one.
Yeah.
Martijn, have you, of course, you have plenty of apps. Have you already started tinkering around with the widgets?
I did actually. So for UV security, I tried to put in a stream, but
Yeah.
that also crashed my Homey.
Oh,
so
really?
it was
Yeah.
not really workable.
But was it using the web frame and then just reverse engineering something?
No, I made my own player to
really?
to reverse engineer the stream, but it was a bit too heavy. But then I built a flow checker widget, so it just gives a table of like how many flows are broken, or how many variables are broken. So I think I can do a bit more with that and also show what kind of variables and where you can find them maybe. But for now, that was just my first draft.
Did you know that you from a widget you can make a pressable button, for example, and then it opens a pop-up?
I did, yeah.
So you can actually show more information about it.
Yeah, so that's what nice bridge to the next one. So I also, for the WhatsApp app, I made a WhatsApp chat widget. So you can, for example, for myself, it's like more like a timeline. So I use my WhatsApp chat more than my timeline. And then I also, when you get an image, you can click the image and it should give you a pop-up. But actually that didn't really work because images are changing all the time because I was using the Homey images. So in the end, I removed that feature, but it was really nice. So you can just see for my doorbell who is at the door, and also that when I have to take out the trash, I also get a message in WhatsApp and all those kind of things.
That's nice.
So it's more like a timeline for me. So I put it in my dashboard as well.
We actually updated the gallery app, which is sort of an app where you can store images. And there's a flow card now that lets you save an image to the gallery. And there's a widget for the gallery that shows your pictures and they rotate, sort of like a picture frame. So you can show, sort of save your WhatsApp photos automatically to there and then show them.
That's really nice.
Show it from there.
Yeah, or just a doorbell snapshots, for example.
Yeah.
And any other widgets planned, or?
I was looking into the car apps I have to also make a car widget, but I also saw there was somebody who made a Tesla widget for it. So I think maybe pairing up a bit with that developer to make a standardized widget for cars. But I think because it would be nice that every car widget looks the same. But it also depends a bit on the API of the car
of
brands,
course, what's supported. That's I think it's cool to streamline the design of the widgets.
Because that's maybe one of the things I'm still missing for dashboards. Like, of course, you can do whatever you want, but I'm also a bit afraid that when all developers are working on the widget, it will be like a big mess with all different kind of styles.
That's really the challenge.
Yeah.
We do provide them with HTML, CSS library, but I mean, if we are too restrictive, then you can build what you want to build. And if we're too loose, then it becomes a Christmas sort of dashboard. So it's really hard. So we do kind of trust on developers to just make things simple and nice and not add too much whistles and bells, which generally works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but it's you need some sort of discipline to stop adding features to your widgets.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's also true. Yeah, you need to strike a good balance between people having the freedom to do what they want with the dashboards, and also
and also this might also be nice because I know there are a lot of designers who use Homey because they value sort of our design, but they can program. So maybe if a designer and a app developer can sort of team up, then I think you get sort of great results in terms of widgets.
Definitely. Yeah.
For the clocks widget, I teamed up with a designer, and he made a lot of clocks, and I just put them in an app and wrapped them in a widget.
Yeah, I saw him also teasing some new widgets that
I
look
did as well.
pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's a sun position, so you see this nice curve basically.
And also some with the ISS and one with planes. And
I helped him out with he was like, how do I get the geolocation of Homey? You know, for me it's like 1 minute work.
Yeah.
But he was struggling with it for a day. But he can make the most beautiful designs.
Yeah.
Which I can make. So I think teaming up, maybe on the forum, if they find each other, that would be really nice.
Yeah, so if there are any designers listening that are pulling out their hairs when looking at dashboards, just
design it.
Yeah,
just design it, post it on the
it.
forum, and I'm pretty sure that the community developer will see it and think, whoa, that's pretty good.
Exactly. It's exactly the same thought. I say I do know a bit of coding. I also know a bit of design. I was like, maybe I combine them, but do a bad job at both. Maybe I can focus more on the design part and share it with someone.
Don't be too hard on yourself.
So I ended up with using a Tailwind library for my for one of my widgets because I was too lazy to build my own CSS and was like, I'll just get a library which is really looking nice, and it feels a bit the same as the Homey styling. I was like, I can use this one. It still looks good.
Yeah, that's lucky.
Yeah, awesome.
But let's say just to figures out, let's say some designer makes a design for one of your widgets and he posts it in the forum. Would you be willing to sort of take that design and implement it? Or
yeah, definitely. As long as as the app supports it as well. So it's like,
of course.
But yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
I hope this happens.
I hope this happens.
You know, everyone wins.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that would be a really nice addition. Great. Again, most questions were about dashboards.
I do have a few more things to say about dashboards.
Sure.
We are adding a few more widgets.
Yep.
We're adding an energy widget, so you can select any energy device. So that's a measuring wall plug, but could also be a smart meter. And you see a live chart with the active value. So you see like minus 500 watts going through. It's really nice. We're adding the tiles you also see when you tap devices in the app. So you see lights, climate, speakers, that kind of stuff. You can also add those to your dashboard. You can just select which ones you want from which zone. So you can mix and match everything. And we're adding a way to jump between dashboards from a dashboard.
Awesome.
So
that's nice.
Yeah. So if you have one sort of let's call it the mother dashboard, and then you can easily go to sub dashboards.
Yeah. So for example, you have a dashboard for your whole house, and then you want to do it on a room basis. You can swap to your living room or your bedroom.
Exactly. So you get like this bird's eye overview, and then you can just drop in. Maybe make a column for each. I don't know how people want to do it, but we're just adding the tools for them.
Awesome.
Nice.
And we're trying to, and this is not with all these widgets, but we're trying to launch dashboards in December for everyone, because still currently in beta. We feel that at some point it's sort of good enough to ship to everyone, and from then on we'll still be adding widgets and new features. But we have to do that someday. And we thought, before Christmas, nice present.
Yeah, so an early Christmas present.
Really nice.
But no promises. You know how our deadlines go.
Soon.
Soon. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that was basically it. Martijn, any last things that you would like to say? Or
thanks for having me, I would say.
Yeah,
it was really nice.
It was really great having you here. It's really nice to also have a chat from people from the other side of the product, seeing how they experience it and use the products.
Thanks for doing all the amazing work, man.
Yeah, I really like
really
doing
grateful.
It.
Thanks a bunch.
A bit of an escalated hobby, but it's really nice.
So next time we get just a customer here who can complain about everything.
Exactly. Yeah. Applications are open now, right? No, thank you so much, Martijn, and for the people at home, thank you for listening, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.
Nice. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.